The Saudi authorities have denounced reports that the kingdom's crown prince, Mohammed bin Salman, hacked the mobile phone of Amazon founder Jeff Bezos. In a tweet, the embassy in Washington branded the allegations absurd. The reports say large amounts of data was extracted from the phone in 2018 after Bezos received a WhatsApp message allegedly from Prince Mohammed bin Salman's account. Well, let's talk to our security correspondent Gordon Carrera, who is with me now and has been looking into this.
Jeff Bezos met with Crown Prince Mohammed Al Salman and exchanged phone numbers. When Jeff Bezos opened a video, which was later sent to him via WhatsApp message from Mohammed, a security breach was made in his phone. This is a real-world example of the problem with computer security Thomas Quillen described in his guest lecture. Given a choice, people will often choose comfort and pleasure over security. He used an example of a choice between dancing pigs and a security warning, where users will pick the dancing pigs every time, even though it contains a virus which can rob you of your entire life savings. It seems like Jeff Bezos, even though he's a smart man, also chose for the dancing pigs. This story has some interesting context later discussed in the news clip. Gordon Carrera explains, in late 2018 the Jamil Khashoggi, columnist at the Washington Post newspaper, which is owned in turn by Jeff Bezos, was killed in the consulate of Turkey. He was openly critical of Saudi government. This brought a lot of tension between the two sides. Jeff Bezos has made no statement. There is a statement from UN reporters who have been investigating the killing of Jamil Khashoggi. They believed this case should be investigated by governments because of the link to the Saudi government. Here we can see an interesting connection between the intensification and expansion of political interrelations between governments and individuals. This is part of political dimension defined by Steger. It also reflects the high level of global governance today. Heino Tysons discussed the role of international organizations in bright and dark global future. Here we see how the UN still tries to apply influence to relatively small individual problems to make a brighter future for the world. Khashoggi was critical of the Saudi government. He published articles on corruption, among other things. This reflects a problem which needs to be and is addressed in globalization. The guest lecture Fighting Corruption in the Global World by Ablio Makinawa gave an interesting introduction to this subject. It showed me how important it is to address the issues of corruption, because the nation state or world economy cannot function properly if there is corruption within a system. The documentary 21st Century Hackers is a great introduction to the subject of cybersecurity. What is interesting is that the documentary doesn't start off with the technical details, but more on the arrogant attitude of everyday users and how this creates the biggest security risk. A clear connection can be seen with the actions of Jeff Bezos, as he probably also expected that no harm would be done to his phone.
First, we have an update on the spread of the deadly coronavirus. Now, a short time ago, the World Health Organization declared the outbreak an international public health emergency. The organization's Director General explains why they've taken this step.
The main reason for this declaration is not because of what is happening in China, but because of what is happening in other countries. Our greatest concern is the potential for the virus to spread to countries with weaker health systems and which are ill prepared to deal with it.
Well, the virus is now spread mainly in China, with more than 8,000 confirmed infections there, at least 170 deaths.
The World Health Organization declares the coronavirus outbreak a public health emergency. The WHO is a United Nations specialized agency who works with several NGOs. With them, they try to combat diseases. The function of NGOs and international agencies is discussed in the book Globalization, a very short introduction, in Chapter 4, Political Dimension by Steger. Nation states try to cooperate and control through international agencies like the WHO. This picture from the book shows how intergovernmental associations like the WHO are related in other forms of governance. Humanitarian action is more than simply generosity, simply charity. It aims to build spaces of normalcy in the midst of what is abnormal. This is a quote from James Orbigst, former president of the MSF, International Humanitarian, which was mentioned in the guest lecture 8-101 by Friedrich Hendricks. The abnormal situation in Wuhan, China is reflected in the empty streets. This description made clear to me what humanitarian aid is about, especially in the outbreak of the coronavirus. In the guest lecture, work of the Red Cross was discussed. On the website of the Red Cross, they already provide information on the coronavirus. Here we see the work they do. To prevent the virus from spreading further, the WHO has declared the coronavirus outbreak a public health emergency, and the government of China has closed the Wuhan from the rest of the world. These are radical measures to stop a flow of people and goods. In the guest lecture Migration Patterns by Karin Nijhoff, she also talked about the constraints put on people to travel free. Crises like these are one of the reasons migration will always exist over the world. Finding good solutions is very hard, as Karin recalled. Cooperation with the World Health Organization, however, is an effective way for China to combat the virus. This case is another example of a bright global future described by Hanno Tysons in his guest lecture Global Governance, because the government of China is working with the World Health Organization and the international community is responding to contain the virus and help China. In this lecture Demographic Development, he also mentioned demographic development and its challenges were also discussed. One of the challenges is health for everyone. A virus like this is in a highly populated city like Wuhan is a serious threat. The first episodes in the documentary Insights in Bill's Brain, Decoding Bill Gates, are about the Bill Gates Foundation and how it's trying to stop child mortalities. Bill also talks about the risk a virus poses to humanity. It looks like he almost predicted the outbreak of the coronavirus. This documentary I highly recommend.
Historically, the country's banking sector has been dominated by a few big players that charge high fees.
It's a very painful experience to be a banking consumer in Brazil. You pay very high fees and you get really poor customer service.
Velez set out to change that. He launched Nubank, a fully digital bank that offers no-fee accounts and credit cards, and it's signed up almost 20 million customers.
If I wanted to open a bank account via Nubank, walk me through how I would do it.
You download the app, you take a photo of your documents, in about 2 minutes you fill a couple of questions and then you have a bank account. And then if you want a loan, you click one button, you get a loan. If you want a credit card, you click another button, you get a credit card.
Unlocking credit for millions could be pivotal for Brazil's economy. In order to do that, Nubank starts very small.
We just generally start with very low credit limits. So there are customers that will have as low as $10 credit line. And with that, they will start building a pattern of consumer that if we get comfortable, we continuously increase that line. Some customers have 50, 100, 200. So the idea is that each customer will have the right line given the need and potential to use.
The guest lecture An Uneven Playing Field by Retse Keizer concluded that capital should again become a public good. The startup Nubank gets rid of a lot of bureaucracy as the middleman is removed. In doing so, money doesn't leak away. Another important point from the guest lecture. The economic playing field is leveled as well, because more people get access to capital and therefore can participate in the economy. Through these actions, money becomes again a public good. It is great to see that this startup can help the Brazilian economy thrive. Another guest lecture we had was about security and technology, where the main focus was how we could build a usable security system in a global world. This startup Nubank makes great improvements in the usability of security, as you don't have to go to the security line at the bank. The only thing you need is the app with a strong password. Furthermore, they use information from customers to validate them on risk, and so they create trust. Nubank is expanding into other countries like Mexico as well, which is an example of the economic dimension of Stiger, because this intensifies and stretches interconnected global finance, as Brazilian and Mexicans get the same bank although they have different currencies. Nubank brings the possibility for people to participate in the economy. The markets become more accessible. One of the principles to make a market work for the poor, which was discussed in the guest lecture by Sebastian Bresford, is that a market should be accessible. Nubank contributes to this principle and so makes markets work for the poor, as well as contributing to globalization, because worldwide social interdependencies and exchanges increase because the poor can participate in the economy. However, Nubank doesn't solve inequality. When I was looking for documentaries, I was struck by the amount of inequality in the world. The documentary How the Poor Survive in the USA is just one example.